All of a sudden, DeShaun Foster has this UCLA football squad having some clout in the recruiting game, getting their players back going in the portal. Bing, bang, boom.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen each and every day. It's free wherever you get your podcasts, and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for your support. Every dayers, get up, unite, rise, because the Bruins are back in the fray. They know how to make things happen, even get their own players back here now in Westwood. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more right now. New customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose by visiting FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. And where we get started today is a very important saga. This might be a small chapter. Overall, this move might not make or break the season, but this can signify a huge change in the culture of UCLA football. What does that mean? DeShaun Foster's coming in. He's talking. He's got the Friday night lights going. He wants to pump up the spring game, which he says has now 20,000 reserved tickets for a spring game in the Rose Bowl, let alone a game that didn't happen the year ago. What is this culture shift we're talking about? Well, Jay Toia, the big loss we thought for UCLA, went and visited Texas in their spring game. You think Texas is going to the SEC. They've got dollars galore. They got pockets. They got $100 bills falling out of the pockets. Like, all right, come over. It was all said and done, right? Well, no, Toia and UCLA found a way to get back, withdraw from the portal, and come to UCLA. That's a big move. Even if Toia doesn't have a good year, it doesn't matter if it's the big plug-and-play fix or return, I should say, defensively for the Bruins. But the fact that the Bruins went out, battled with the big dogs, said, no, we want you here. DeShaun went and even talked about, hey, Monday was going to be a big day. April 22nd was going to be a big day. After Toia went, he ventured. Isn't that the beauty of the portal? This is where the portal is super dramatic. It's super crazy, but you can go look. You get the opportunity to go shop for a weekend. That is okay for Toia to do. But what's been crazy is that teams, they go poach players from UCLA. Players should not be leaving UCLA unless they want to go elsewhere. Hence Kyle Ford going, he didn't want to be a Bruin at the end of the day. But Toia coming back, wanted to be a Bruin. DeShaun Foster, they NIL making its way to make things happen. It's all stepping up. The support and the change had to start with the head coaching philosophy. So once Chip went out the door, you bring in DeShaun Foster, brings in renewed energy, new ideas. Sometimes you just need a fresh face, new voice to come in, bring new opinions, thoughts, and liven up the atmosphere. You see the videos with the one-on-one battles. You see how practice is going with new energy in spring practice, attendance, Friday night light spring practice, a spring game is brought back. The Bruins are offering high school recruits. This is a big thing that the Bruins went against the big dogs in the Texas Longhorns, and they won. It helps that you have a relationship. It's not like it was an unknown transfer product to both teams. You might have to say Texas might win that battle. But when it comes to keeping your own guys, look at the reaction Foster got when he was hired. Now, that's not going to be winning over the locker room. You have to win new recruits over in high school year in and year out again and again. But it's significant that the Bruins go win that and say, you're not going anywhere. Not that that's how it played out, but the fact that they wanted a guy to stay, they talked him out of it. And go look at those withdrawal numbers in the transfer portal. Any sport, minute. It's the second time this offseason UCLA's had a guy go to the portal and withdraw. Keegan Jones literally committed to another school and came back. Toia thought, all right, there's some rumblings. I got to go in the portal, check it out. And he's coming back to UCLA. And not only that, they posted about it, celebrating, almost like the prodigal son, if you will. just for a weekend, flirting with the idea of going to Texas's spring game and then coming. Whoa, he did go to the spring game, visited, saw the Longhorns. They're feeling high and mighty after a CFP appearance, right, under Coach Sarkisian. And then you talk about UCLA saying, no, this is our day and age. That's different. Under Chip, Toia would be long gone, right? Not because he didn't like it, but it's all things that players are leaving, coaches are leaving, D-line's not going to look as good. I got to do more. Let's go. Let's go jump, get an NIL boost. But the fact that it started with the coaching, the build, the energy, the liveliness of the players in practice, and there's only so much they can do, but look at the coaches, right? You got a Bieniemy coming in the staff. You got NFL veterans coming in the staff. And then when it comes to a full, long effort like it is in collegiate athletics, as much as the landscape is changing, you do need buy-in from the donors and the fans. All of us included do influence what these recruits think. I know maybe they do not watch, maybe they do watch these videos, they think of it. Who cares, right? But when it comes to fans and donors, when they see an empty Rose Bowl and they see a packed Rose Bowl, that's the difference between them looking at like Alabama or Texas or wherever, and they say, hey, do we want to cheer and be cheered on by the LA sports fan, true UCLA blue and gold blood bleeding, or do you want to go and see the atmosphere? And so it's a whole buy-in. And once the donors start helping, clicking in and believing in the message and the preaching from DeShaun Foster and the players are buying in, you got a good coaching staff that help build the X's and O's, teach and develop these players. The donors are believing. If that's how this day and age is going, now that Virginia law might become a thing, I still haven't checked up too much about it, but if you're going to directly pay players, you got to be able at this level to make it happen. Then next up is the fans. That is where the next stage is. Show up at the spring game. Yes, our spring game is the most exciting event, maybe not in the world to watch a practice football game, but goodness gracious, what was the Friday Night Lights? A lot of energy. Spring practice, spring football game, a lot of energy. Some of my greatest memories were a half-constructed Rose Bowl going and getting player signatures, and that player happened to be Anthony Barr, and he has one of my favorite UCLA memories ever. From a child to go smacking Matt Barkley. That's where memories and childhood bonds are made to cheer for a team, for players, again and again. And it's a little different now that it's a little pay for play, a little pay for the signature, but it's a full buy-in. And now that UCLA is winning these wars, heading into Big Ten time, they're building up. And while they did have to do it out of necessity, sometimes you get pushed to get your backs are against the wall. The Bruins had to go after DeShaun Foster. They're like, our D-line is depleted. We need to go after Toia. We need you. Step it up, donors. Step it up, fans. Step it up, coaching staff. And they're answering the bell. It's ringing. They're answering that call. And the idea is they're so far working. How it will work on the football field, the talents, how the defensive schemes will work with the changing of the guard, the defensive coordinator, new offensive coordinator, a couple of injuries, a couple of guys leaving. All right. But this is a huge change for UCLA in this landscape where they were normally losing these battles. No, quite frankly, under Chip Kelly, they just didn't care. Kelly was like, all right, I'm going to go win the portal. All right, I'll go, come here, come to UCLA. This is an opportunity, you'll play, right? But if a guy left, okay. All right. When UCLA lost their big recruit, all right, they made a big play once, right? But now, DeShaun Foster's like culture over everything. Going at it's relationships, developing that. That's still a true game. I know the dollar sign talks, but so does your head coach. So the X's and O's, so the wins and losses. And we're not at those points where we can read the X's and O's until we see more of a spring game and a regular practice and an actual game. We don't get that for another few months, close to half a year. It's just a little tease until we get to early September and Labor Day, or I guess late August this year because the Bruins are going to Hawaii. But we still got to wait a few months, more than 4 in this case. But it's looking promising. And the fact that the Bruins went and hung out the big dogs, that is huge. That speaks volumes. And I talked about this wish list the Bruins needed with DeShaun Foster. It was big. They had to go fill a defensive line hole. Well, they kind of brought him back. And they still filled another hole with another commitment all in the same day. Goodness gracious. They got more to fill that wish list DeShaun Foster talked about the portal. Having a kid withdraw and then going after and filling a need that they have specifically on the offensive line, which I'll talk about next here on Locked On UCLA. It's playoff time in the NBA, NHL, baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. $150 win or lose, because you can bet from everything of slap shots, home runs, slam dunks on an app that is safe, secure, and super easy to use. What are y'all waiting for? Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. Again, FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right. We've all been there. Whether you're playing, you're a fan, it's halftime, the scoreboard's not looking good. I'm feeling low, and it's like, can the team pull out a win? But then you dig deep. You lift your head up and say to yourself, it's time to get back in the game and pull off some bank heists and take as much of my friend's money as I possibly can. What does that mean? That's right. The smash hit mobile game Monopoly Go lets you compete with your friends to get the most riches and build the biggest empire. It's the Monopoly you love, but on your phone anytime with tons of new twists, including leaderboards. Compare your progress to your buddies. You can play countless dynamic Monopoly boards you can use and smash landmarks with a wrecking ball and charge players rents on your iconic properties. Work with your friends to crack open community chests and more. So get back out there, put on your game face, and download Monopoly Go now free on the App Store or Google Play Store. All right, going on here in Locked On UCLA, the Bruins are being able to hit their wish list, address the defensive line. Well, in this case, they had to address something that was a loss for a second, but make sure they brought Jay Toia. But now, with the commitment from the UNLV transfer in the likes of, let's make sure we get this name correctly, Alani Makahele, he comes in, couple of years of eligibility, was visiting UCLA, getting some love, posted he was visiting, maybe even had another visit. But according to Brandon Huffman, loved his visit, coming from UNLV, started with the Rebels, who've seen a couple of guys leave. They're competing for a Mountain West championship in the previous year. So this is a scrappy UNLV bunch. The Bruins still need some depth on the offensive line. And as much success as I believe the Bruins can have with Eric Bieniemy, you've got Juan Castillo, man, in the O-line. You've got guys in there who've seen it and done it all with the best in the business, teaching these young men how to do it on the gridiron in Big Ten play. You still got to go get some players. Sometimes the X's and O's didn't work, but you need guys who are talented enough and depth in this case to help build for UCLA, right? So Makahele, interior lineman potentially for UCLA, started a couple years of eligibility, but now you're looking at the wish list. DeShaun Foster's won winning wars against now SEC teams, and in this day and age where we're becoming a couple super conferences, it's probably going to be the Big Ten and SEC maybe in the near future until the ACC falls or becomes a super conference as well, which it's trying to do. You're winning wars in the portal against other schools, maybe local schools like the old rivals in Cal and Stanford, where you're getting the guys with the academics, you're getting the guys with the big NIL bucks, and you can try and go beat the best of both worlds while bringing the glitz and glamour of the Hollywood, West Coast, LA lifestyle in Westwood in the Rose Bowl. So it's great to see the Bruins going after players that they need in the likes of Alani Makahele. He comes in from UNLV, a guy who, redshirt 22, member of the squad 23, 22, and he's been around for quite a bit now and has been competing. He hails from Alaska, so he's, coming around. And this is a guy who, all right, maybe he doesn't start. We saw a lot of transfer guys work out and maybe not make the cut for UCLA and Chip Kelly's last year as UCLA head coach. But in the end, they still have to address a need. You go get a starter. That's usually pretty good. UNLV was pretty solid. And it's great to find the Bruins addressing what they need. And, tight end. They need another tight end. They would like maybe another quarterback after seeing 1 to 2 leave this year or the most recent portal because they lost a couple of guys because Garbers is apparently balling out at spring practice, although I'd like to see how Martin plays in the spring game, Justin Martin, that is. And you've got a big battle going on. All right, address the D-line. Priority number one after Toia, and then you had Shea Bryant-Strother leave. You go make sure you get a guy back. O-line, we need it. Oh, let's get that. And the fact that the Bruins are able to manage all of that, the power of the Friday Night Lights, spring game coming up, you've got a guy leaving, visiting another spring game, a guy coming for an official visit. DeShaun Foster, at the most recent spring press availability, was talking. He got a few commitments. Didn't really go into details. I know some coaches got to be coy in case guys change their mind or don't want to go public with their commitment or want to go too big or too small. That could throw too much. Yet, here we are, and UCLA is handling all of that. I wonder in the quiet Chip Kelly era what that would look like. Now, he's saying we're getting guys, we're bringing guys in that we need and handling and keeping in, it's not necessarily internal drama with what happened with Toia. He was shopping, and, you get your opportunity nowadays to go look for bigger and better if you think, and the Bruins still brought him back. Bringing in an offensive lineman who could plug and play. The Bruins, think about it, quarterback, running back, you're fine. You brought back some guys who can be talented, play multiple spots. You've got tight end in Maliki Matavao. Hopefully some more guys develop. Unfortunately, after the Hudson Habermill injury. Receiver, I think, is a pretty solid room right now, even with the loss of Kyle Ford, who's supposedly going back to USC, which I got opinions. I'm not going to share them. And then you've got, all right, you're building the offensive line, and this can be a sustainable unit, the mind of Eric Bieniemy, and I think the sky is the limit. I think the UCLA offensive line can hopefully be better than that Commander offensive line that he had to deal with in the Ron Rivera era for Bieniemy when he went to the Commanders for that season, right, after the Chiefs or, whatever it was. So then, all right, you go to Big Ten play. The Bruins already have some guys who've clicked together, mix some terminology in, and then boom, this is an offense that maybe thrive is the right word or a little strong, but I believe in the offense right now and the ability to compete. And they're showing they can compete off the field. The next step is proving they can compete on the field in the gridiron, on the football field, when you got hundreds of thousands of fans screaming at you in Penn State, when you got a big, loud atmosphere, when you're playing in Death Valley and LSU, when you're going against a lot of fans in Nebraska, right? That's the offense that's going to have to go play against some big, loud environments. A lot of guys coming back. I like to believe that you're bringing in talent, fortifying all those pieces. It's going to get intense. And I'm believing in what UCLA selling. I'm believing, man. I'm believing right now. I'm enjoying it. Now we'll have to go and we'll go a little more step-by-step dissecting what we want. I know one of you guys asked, hey, let's look at what UCLA is looking for in the spring game. And it's looking like it might not just be offense, defense. It might be two separate teams. You see some games televised spring game-wise, and they have, gold versus blue versus gold, right? Or they just go offense, defense versus their second string. I like it when they draft teams and they play. DeShaun Foster hasn't exactly led us into that just yet, but we'll talk about what we're looking for in the spring game and everything in between. But the Bruins are now winning recruiting wars in the portal, not losing guys that they want in the portal from their own team, and competing, hopefully, nationwide on the field. I'm excited, and I hope you are too. We'll talk more men's basketball. We'll talk women's basketball because they got some scholarship spots to fill. And I think Close might have to hit the portal to add on to this talented roster. We got all that and more on Locked On UCLA in the future episodes. We've been talking a lot about recruiting, which means we need to talk about LinkedIn Jobs, because whether you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role, which is why you must check out LinkedIn Jobs. They got the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. It's not another job board. They help you find professionals you can't find anywhere else. And even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but they might be open to a perfect role. In a given month, 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Hey, that's 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, we're going to wrap up Locked On UCLA today. A lot of entertaining action on the football side. Maybe not so much spring practice, but off the field, how to construct the roster, how to deal with all the drama of being a head coach that DeShaun Foster is learning on the fly. And so far, with the help of NIL, donors, himself, the coaches, the current players, the atmosphere, just this dynamic shift, it's looking pretty good. And I'm excited as well. So get your hands up, Bruins fans. We're getting closer to that spring game. It's an A-clap, baby. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA. Fight, fight, fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.